How's everybody doing, and welcome to the fish room. In today's video, it's actually going to be this tank down below there. It's a 5-gallon aquarium. We're going to be adding a new fish today. If you already clicked on the video, obviously you saw the thumbnail. It's going to be a no filter aquarium. We'll take a closer look at it now. I do have some guppies in there. We're going to be adding a dwarf gourami today. Really nice fish. I thought it would be fun. I had to go pick up the fish outside from the store today. You know, everything's kind of crazy, but I wanted to add some new fish to the fish room today, and I had to get food and stuff anyways. So let's go ahead and take a close look at this tank. Before we get started on the video, if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe and like the video if you liked it by the end. It definitely helps me out and I appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below for the 55-gallon tank, if you've been following along, what you want to see in that tank, because I plan on getting fish for that tank next week. But let's go ahead, let's take a close look at this tank, get the fish acclimated, and we'll take a look. So before we start to acclimate the gourami into this tank, I want to just kind of give a quick overview on it. So it's a very simple setup. We have, you can see there's a trio of guppies in there. Just so you know, they've been in there for at least a month or two now. I do very minimal water changes on this tank, almost none at all to be completely honest, at least not yet. I do have some duckweed growing on top, so I've been topping this tank off with fresh water, been removing the duckweed because it is growing. It has a very simple little light on top. Not even like a fish tank light, just a little bit extra. And to be honest, this light was growing, I mean these plants were growing just with the lighting from the room. I have these shop lights behind us here. So the duckweed grows very easily with very minimal lighting. And also this tank does not have a filter. Typically I would run a sponge filter on a tank like this. But to be quite honest, the duckweed grows much better without the surface agitation of a hang on the back filter or a canister or a sponge filter. It's actually going to grow a lot more successfully, and I've been pulling netfuls of duckweed out of this tank almost every week or so. And just to prove that the tank is cycled, it has fish living in it now, you don't need a filter on the tank. We don't even have a heater in this tank. I will say I heat the room, so heater is recommended, even something around 76 degrees, just so it's not 70 or like 65 degrees Fahrenheit, just a little bit too cold. But it doesn't have to be 80 degrees, 82 degrees. If you want to put a small heater in there, that would be something that would kind of wrap up this tank for you at home. But yeah, very simple setup. This is a 5-gallon tank. It might be considered a 5.5-gallon. Go ahead and turn that light off just for a second so you can focus in on all the duckweed. But every once in a while, once this is completely covered, which it pretty much is now, I'll take a net through here and empty out some spots just so it's easier to feed the tank, honestly. And that's going to allow to get more space for the plants to keep growing, and let that duckweed to keep growing, feeding off the nitrates in the fish tank, and kind of just having a very low-tech tank that's going to be a little bit natural and self-sustaining, especially when they have a few fish in here. We're not overfeeding. The gourami in here is actually be a much better fit than the guppies, to be honest with you guys, because gouramis are similar to a betta fish, how they kind of come up to the surface to breathe. So I'm excited to do the gourami. This tank is actually going to be a little bit easier for him than having guppies or something else. But there's nothing wrong with not having a filter on a tank. It definitely will help out in keeping your tank cleaner and keeping there more oxygen in the water. But it's not always necessary if you don't overcrowd your tanks and you do live plants and good lighting and things like that. But let's go ahead, let's actually jump forward and start acclimating the fish. I will explain that process for you guys when we get to check the fish out today in the tank. So I still have the gourami in the bag. Hopefully you can see him a little bit in here. If I go down, he's kind of at the bottom, but we're going to go ahead and put him in this side container. There's many ways to acclimate fish, and most of you guys probably already know how to do this. But if any of you guys want a little helping hand, I will kind of explain what I'm doing today, just pretty briefly. But you can go ahead, basically all you're trying to do is get the fish, most importantly, used to the water, of like the temperature of the water is the most important. So at the very minimum, you want to float the bag in the aquarium and get it just to temperature. What we're going to do today, I got him in this side container here. So what we're going to do, we'll be able to see the fish a little bit closer up. And then every minute or so, he's been in the room for a while. And like I said, the room is heated. So his bag's been gradually warming up just being out in the room temperature. I'm going to use a turkey baster just because I have these floating plants. If I use a cup, I'm going to get a lot of the plants in there, which I don't really want to do. But I'm going to go ahead and just slowly add some of the aquarium water to the tank. This is also going to slowly get the water more to the exact temperature if you're kind of rushing it. This is gradually going to get it warmer or colder depending on the temperature of the bag in the tank. But it's going to get him used to the temperature and also get used to the nitrates and the pH. So at the pet store, if their nitrates, their fish waste is very high or very low compared to your tank, it's going to help them just gradually get a little bit of a head start and kind of just get the fish acclimated to the new water it's about to be in. This is nothing that you're going to do over a period of hours. There's a lot of people that do it a lot of different ways, and I've done it many different ways. And for every different fish, I usually take a different approach. Just kind of varies fish to fish. But today I think he's pretty close to the temperature. I'm going to add a little bit of water. And for instance, say the water from the store and yours are almost exactly the same. You could even test this water first from the store and then test your tank. If the nitrates and the pH are really close, all you really got to do is get the fish used to the temperature. Then you can just kind of net that fish out of the container or out of the bag and put them right into the tank. I definitely think it helps if you don't have the lights on for a little while, if you don't have other fish trying to chase them in the aquarium. Things like that can definitely help with additional stress. But once the temperature is matched, and then you know the pH and the nitrates, things like that are also pretty similar, you can go ahead and put that fish in there. But I didn't test the water for the nitrates. I'm assuming they're pretty close, and then the pH is pretty close because we both use our city water. But I'm going to give the fish maybe a few minutes here. I'm going to get the guppies out of the tank while we're waiting, then we can go ahead and add the gourami to the tank. We'll check them out a little bit, and then obviously later in the week, whenever I do some more updates on the fish room, we'll definitely come back and take a look at this guy, because I'm definitely excited. I haven't had a gourami in years, definitely not a dwarf gourami in quite some time. So excited to have this fish in a tank, especially a tank as simple as this, where it's a no heater, no filter tank. I think it's really cool. Granted, you probably should have a heater, like I said, if your room is not heated, because the average person is not going to have a heated fish room. But for me, this tank was super easy to set up and just kind of an extra thing to have. But let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get these guppies out of here. Give it a few more minutes for the gourami, and we'll go ahead and put them into the tank. Okay, so we let some time pass. The gourami is ready to go into the tank, and we did get the guppies out. One thing we're going to do here that is important, it's not a necessity whenever it's your first fish. Like, this is the only fish in the tank. It's not as crucial as when you have a tank full of fish you've had for a while. You want to net the fish out and not introduce any new water from the pet store or from your friend or whoever it might be. The less times you kind of cross-contaminate different waters, the healthier your fish are going to be, the less chance you're going to get of getting sicknesses, especially if you have a tank full of a ton of fish that you've been buying from a certain store for a long time. Then you go to a different pet store and you buy their fish and you want to introduce them to your tank. Quarantine is always the best method if you have an extra tank or a temporary tank where you can let a fish maybe go through a round of medicine or just kind of be by itself for at least a week, if not a month or so. Just any chances of any illnesses showing up, or be able to make the fish more sterile, so you're not introducing all these different bacteria and things to your tank. Especially think about people going back to school. That's always my example. Kids go back to school after summer. They get the flu or they get sick. Not because the kids are sick, just because they all have different immune systems and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and net him out of this container because we do have some of the store water in there. If you dump them in from the bag, at least go over the sink and dump out most of the water. So you're only adding a little bit of that water and it's mixed into your tank. I do think it's less stressful on certain fish if you don't net them. So sometimes you gotta pick and choose your battles. Maybe you just introduce a tiny bit of that store water versus an entire bag. Every little bit helps in my opinion, but we're gonna go ahead, put this guy in the tank. We'll check him out for a few minutes, maybe throw some music on, but let's go ahead and add this guy to the tank. I think he's look really good. Alright, so there you have it, guys. Pretty simple to add the fish to the tank, but I thought it was kind of cool to just show you that process. And I was excited to get this guy today, so now I'm going to give him some time to hang out. It's definitely stressful. Think about someone scooping you out of a tank, putting you in the car for 15 minutes, floating you in a bag, and then dumping you in another tank. Definitely a lot going on. You don't want to do anything additional to stress the fish out. Usually turn the lights off. Sometimes if I have a heavy filter on, like a 90-gallon tank with like a sump, if I'm adding, especially if I do tetras, like neon tetras, I was doing this the other day, turn the pump off for a while. Let them float, let them acclimate, whether you let them float in the sump, where it's a little bit darker, fish aren't picking at the bag. Let them float, get them acclimated, add water to the bag, that whole process. And then when you put them in the tank, maybe net them out, gradually put that net in there. I know it may sound a little silly, but I think that definitely helps. Putting that net down in the tank, like I said, with these tetras, if you have a bunch of them, let them swim out of the net together. Don't just kind of plop them in the tank, which you can do and they can be fine. But all those little factors of stress definitely can build up and maybe cause some unnecessary stress or death on these fish. And then after they kind of swim around for a while, get their breathing a little bit more settled. You can tell they kind of are breathing heavy at first. Then you can go ahead and turn your pumps back on. For this tank, we don't have to worry about it. Like I said, this is a no filter, no heater, low-tech tank. We do have some plants in there. Real simple 5-gallon tank. This would be a great little beta tank setup. Even good for a dwarf gourami like we have today. So thanks for watching the video, guys. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video below. It definitely helps out. Comment below what you think of this tank, if you want to do something similar, if you've done anything like this in the past. And then check out these older videos I'm going to post on the screen here. Thanks again for watching, guys. Stay tuned. I got some new videos coming out this week and next week. Don't forget to comment below what you want to see in this aquarium over here. We have ourselves a 55-gallon tank here. Definitely a lot of potential. We can do whatever we like. I was thinking about doing maybe some Indian dwarf puffers in here. Maybe just a school of neon tetras. Maybe do like 30 neon tetras in here. I think it would look really cool. Maybe a goldfish. There's so many options for this tank. I want something to be relatable that you guys like and something you could even pick out at the store yourself. So it's nothing too rare, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you think I should put in this tank. This is a 55-gallon tank. It's already cycled, it's ready to go, but thanks again for watching, guys. Don't forget to click on those older videos, check out some of my playlists, and like and comment if you liked it. But thanks again, guys. Stay healthy, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya.